Welcome, everybody. My name is Sarah Freels. I'm joined here today on October 9th with Sarah Stevens. She is a former Bernie delegate and an independent journalist. And I'm also joined with Alex Spielman, who is the CAO of Meme News. And both of them are good friends of mine. So the topic today is protesting, fake protesting, how we all feel about it, and let's start with Alex. Give Alex the floor. You said you posted today on Twitter. I'll pull it up because I want them to see the video that I'm talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is this the one you're talking about where you had the lady saying something and you had the people repeating after that?
Yes. Okay.
Oh yeah. That one apparently got very popular with people on Twitter.
How do I use the screen share? Let me see. Optimize. You've done it before, haven't you?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a phone. I'm not able to do that.
Okay.
It says Sarah Freels has started screen sharing.
There you go.
Okay.
You got it.
First try. Okay, let me get this down up. Okay, let me give you a little bit of a background on this. Okay, this is a protest for, I think it's involving Kavanaugh in the, what's the word I'm looking for? Christine Bays, what's her name?
It was Christine Blasey Ford. She was accusing Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct 36 years ago in a party in high school on the weekend where they were all inebriated.
Yeah, and she can't remember how she got there, who left with her. There were a lot of things in the accusations that were not adding up. She was changing her story, and I'm not saying, I don't want to ever give the impression that women should not speak up, because I'm a victim of rape. I know a lot of people that are victims of rape, and it's not funny. But it also is not for political parties to use at will. I think we should acknowledge the difference between a protest that is being funded and hosted by people like this. So let's watch this. You can see the screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. What do you guys think about this? Show you one more too.
I can.
If you ever want to look for some propaganda, go to Alyssa Milano's Twitter page. You'll find some real quick.
I actually, I don't know if you noticed this, but I actually made a follow-up thread on this, actually. I'm not sure you actually have the tweet I did on retweet I did, but I was saying something about nope. I think I was like, nope, no brainwashing here. Some type of sarcastic response, and I actually pulled up a definition of zombie on WordWeb.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is because I believe that what we're seeing is prepping. When we see in movies and television and things like that, what we're doing is we're prepping the mind for preparing that these things are going to happen. But instead of it being a individual which has rotting flesh and looking for brains, it's going to be basically a brainwashed automaton. So here's an interesting definition for you. So zombie, one of the definitions is a dead body that has been brought back to life by a spiritual force. That's basically the horror version of it, right?
Mhm.
And then the philosophical one, I'm sorry, here it is. The fourth definition goes down because all the other ones are basically about inanimate objects acting on the will of someone else. The other definition is someone who acts or responds in a mechanical or apathetic way.
Mhm.
So basically, that's what's happening. They're speaking in an apathetic way, no emotion, just programming.
I don't know where that do you have that video of Alyssa Milano and she's like chanting about being punched in the vagina? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't have it.
They were like, I don't know where they were. They were in some public building and they were chanting something as if it was her own testimony. I don't know whose testimony it was, but Alyssa Milano was talking about some type of violence against her, and everybody around her was doing the same type of chanting, like, hold on, like in that video we just saw. And so it doesn't need, it's not even, they don't just do that just for the directions of where to go and what to do. They like make each other chant out their abuse. And I just thought that was very strange.
It's the whole it's kind of like the mental gymnastics that they're kind of going on in the in the leftist community, and I mean,
I don't like that term because I know some true leftists and they are nothing like those people. Can't we call them neoliberals? That's such a better.
Neoliberals, I just prefer Democrat because that's what they are at the core. They support the party. They're Democrat. I think that separates from liberals. And, you know, whether you agree or disagree.
I know some very good leftist people, and that is an insult to them, you know. There are some really good people out there that are leftists. So
I'm just using the actual definitional term. I'm not trying to use it as a derogatory.
Oh, okay.
I'm just using it as this is what the tactics that would be in like a red revolution, if you will.
Okay.
You know, the power of the people. We're going to overwhelm the establishment we're going to use a conviction that is, you know, real or false. You know, sometimes.
Uh-oh.
Hi, puppy.
Hey, take them out real quick. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
Take them out.
I don't mean it in any form of derogatory. I just mean it as a form of.
I'm so used to hearing it as a derogatory term, unfortunately, that, you know.
I was a leftist at one point, so
yeah,
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm more of a classic liberal nowadays. You know, the likes of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, that type of thing. But anyways, besides that, you know, besides all the jargon, these are methods that they're going to use one way or another. They're going to try to convince people that they are good about these things. But the problem is, after you scream wolf after a while, you know, people are going to be like, oh, you're making that up again, until it actually happens. You know,
I'm noticing
like
that they're really just trying to make protesting as uncredible as possible. And
yes.
They are. And, these Democrats think that, this party is my party because they, you know, donate to the protesting and they donate to these causes and stuff. And I'm like, they're doing that to leech on to everything that is good and undemocratic, and I say that not associated with the Democratic Party. They do that to suck out all the good and the genuine motives that people have, and they're manipulating people. I mean, the Podesta email said that they are literally manipulating them to do their bidding without making them feel like they are being swallowed whole by the establishment that just ate them. I mean, that's not verbatim, but it's pretty damn close to what it said, and it's just crazy. And so I'm worried that from the negativity that I've seen from anything associated with protesting. It is so hard to break through that barrier and get through to people because there's so many people that don't like protesting at all. They don't want anything to do with it because of how awful these people are, how they provoke violence, you know. So ultimately, there's nothing we can do. We're in a weird situation where I don't want to put down any act of civil disobedience because there is value in that, you know. And like with the Kavanaugh protests, they may not be, you know, funding their own protesting. They may not, you know, be there for the right cause. But I didn't like Kavanaugh either. But I disliked him for genuine issues with his previous work, you know. And so go ahead.
I have a good photo for you.
Okay.
You know, you know how we talked about paid protesting? I got just the thing. Ready? You guys can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, so these were done the day before Kavanaugh was even nominated.
Huh.
So they already had the short list of all three members, and they made these posters. And you had people like Bernie Sanders. Yes, Bernie, our wonderful democratic socialist individual, who said that he will fight tooth and nail. And that's more, I'm paraphrasing it, that he was going to fight tooth and nail to make sure this never happened.
Yeah.
And so they had this planned out.
I don't think it's that they're anti-Kavanaugh as much as the fact that they need an enemy to fight, you know, and they realize that even some of their own Democratic voters are not anti-Trump. And so I think that they needed to find another enemy, you know, another enemy to add on, I think. It just makes sense. And then if people rationally look at the tweets of like Democratic senators and stuff, and celebrities as well, you can see that this is a well orchestrated, you know, movement, like what they're doing to support and help the Democratic Party. That's what this is. And, you know, I think it would be a big deal if, say, people were to protest Kavanaugh on their own dime, make their own posters. I think that's the way that the DNC Fraud Protest needs to stay, because not only can we not really afford a lot of stuff, but I think the more handwritten, you know, like at our protests, we'll give anybody that wants it the megaphone and let them speak and say whatever they want for however long they want. And that's the way it's just been from the beginning, because the point of it is to let our voices be heard. But instead, you watch these like Kavanaugh protests and they're chanting recited, you know, they're chanting pre-made statements, you know, like.
I remember one protest, they were using hands up, I can't breathe, those are BLM. There
was another one too. I saw them chanting Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, you're mixing up your protest here. Like, you're missing because your intentions, you know, you can't just bottle it up. Like, if it's for a Kavanaugh protest, let it be about Kavanaugh. Maybe they could go one by one and discuss his policies that they have an issue with. You know,
why is it never policy? Why is it always sex or freaking race? Gosh.
Let me show you.
Well, one of the reasons why they really didn't go after policy, and I know that you're going to talk about the Fourth Amendment, and probably the bigger reason is because of the whole FISA incident right now. And
see what this is? This is hours of research on the Democratic Party that I've made and put in like binders to give out to people so they can see the crimes of the party. You know, hold on.
And it was actually interesting.
But the thing is, though, like, they don't do that. They don't do that. But the issue is, I don't want to speak against anybody that is protesting, you know, civil disobedience is is showing people how to protest. That's fantastic, but what they're doing is not the same. It's just,
Well, I can tell you right now, one way that we can heal the whole country overnight is those big banks. People need to remove their money out of them and let them fall, let them fail. They have become way too big. They monopolize everything. And, I've been in a position where I've actually seen them fund attack ads.
We can also do cable cutting too, because of all the big television too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why do you think they've been so threatened about all of the online streaming nowadays? It's because no one needs to go through the boob tube, if you will, and not be in a vegetative state watching the television, because now people are researching these things, because the cable news is so discredited that they know 90% of the stuff, or maybe even 100% of the stuff they say is wrong or partially wrong.
Regurgitated lies.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you one example. So let's talk unityforj.com. You can go there and find out about Julian Assange, or freeassange.com. I lost my train of thought. I was talking about Assange, and okay, I saw in my local news reporting on their website, it was like some Fox or KWEG, who cares, some local news for Pullman, Washington, and they shared an anti-Julian Assange report, and it basically was just what you see on TV. It was propaganda. It was like saying that he's going to be evicted, and he should be, and stuff like that. And so I was like, they're saying things that are not factual. So I messaged them, and they said, oh, well, we have no control over what we report in our local news, because we have a contract with USA Today, and they write the stuff. We don't check it or have any say over what they say. I'm like, so you're reporting locally, and this USA Today is sharing this misinformation to who knows how many cities, probably every major city. And Pullman is a small town. It's like less than 30,000 or something like that. And it's a pretty small town. For them to, be this good and targeting people with misinformation, and they do that, and nobody questions it,
Your local station wouldn't happen to be a Sinclair station, would it?
I don't know.
Sinclair.
I think I emailed pretty much everybody there, and only like one or two got back to me.
Because Sinclair owns the majority of the airing rights in local television stations. They own things like New York, Philadelphia, Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle, things like that. And they did this. I forgot who did this, but they did a video, and it had, "We are here to give you your local news at blank, name your city, and we want to make sure you have the most accurate news possible because of," and then blank here, the station, "because we want to make sure that the information is good so that it is not damaging to our democracy." Now, what's interesting about that is that they showed one video of it, and then they showed another station that did it, and then they showed another. They did this exponentially until they had 100 different stations that were doing the exact same thing.
Talk about Sinclair Broadcasting Corporation? Yeah. Sinclair Broadcasting Corporation, okay, yeah.
That's, how they have like all the different broadcasting rights for all the different cities? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, our news is owned, our banks are, and just like banks, if people just realized, don't go, get completely away from Bank of America, Citibank, Capital One, they're all out to destroy us politically. You have no idea. I've seen it. It's real. Put your money in credit unions. Get the hell out of there, because it's just going to keep getting worse. They're writing our legislation. People need to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that me and Deb Della Piana really want to focus on, because we've united, become ungovernable with the DNC fraud protest, and we want to, and also refuse to vote. And I know that's at first it's not going to be a very popular action.
It's already not popular.
But that's the thing, though. The thing is that makes it. That's, to me,
No,
is
but
the reason why I want to
good.
do it, because it's not going to be
Yeah,
popular,
exactly.
and it's going to get attention, and I believe it's the right thing to do. So you're going to be seeing a lot more. Like we need to find new ways to share that concept of refusing to vote. Like, we're going to have to realize that people are going to be really upset at us for doing it, and they're going to question themselves. They're going to question us. They're going to question the system. They're going to, hopefully, if this is successful, it's going to be good for everybody,
So, Sarah, I have a question for you. If we know that Citizens United is responsible for the central funding of our government, Citizens United makes it to where all the corporations can get their legislation passed and just, fuck Americans, okay? We all know this. How do we get this to stop? Because this is a central problem. How do we get it to stop?
At the base core, the goal is to educate people about what's happening, show them what's happening and how it's happening. Same thing with the DNC fraud crimes. Like, all we can do is we know they exist. We know what the reasons are. We have so many disadvantages, like the censorship. Like we saw today on Facebook. We couldn't live stream. Alex can't live stream at all anymore. I can't have people on, and then the picture gets pixelated. But the thing is, we'll find ways around it. We started the Discord chat. We're making progress. I know it doesn't seem like that some days, because we hear people talking and say things that are, completely off base, and they're so far behind that it seems like we're, not uniting, but we are, because we see it. We're living it right now. We're taking the time to, out of our schedules. You're a mom, and we all work. We all have our own, interest, and we take away from that to do this. So we're showing people it matters. You're planting a seed. We don't have to have all the solutions right now.
Right.
Let's, we need to show people how to start having discussions. If only one thing that people get from this, let them sign up for Zoom and start using it to talk to their friends, talk to their allies, and start making solutions. So, I would be happy to start a separate protest with you, Sarah, pushing that message. If you want to develop an idea with me, what's one more,
Right. Right.
Hey, Adrian, I didn't get a chance to say hi.
Oh, hi, sir. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Hi, Adrian.
Alex.
So I wanted to just go over, and we tried to do this the first time, this video the first time, but then it didn't work, so we had to restart it. So I'm trying to make sure we cover topics that were important. Protesting, I think that we should be encouraging protesting, but showing people that there's a difference between what they're doing, what the Democratic Party is pushing, and what we're doing. So just, if anything, take away from this, just to be aware for the people watching. I know you guys already know what's going on, with real and fake protests, but fake protesting does exist. And I know that there's a lot of different versions of what that means to different people, depending on how educated they are on the topic. When I refer to fake protesting, I refer to people who are not doing it on their own accord, where they didn't start it, they didn't invest any money in it, they didn't think of the ideas and the concepts, they didn't contribute, where they basically show up. Paid protesting is real, though. If you go to your list, go ahead.
Anything that's corporate backed.
Yes, on the left and the right.
On the left and the
The
right.
Coke-
actually.
Left or right first.
And I think
Absolutely.
ultimately,
Soros on the left, and it's the Koch brothers on the right.
Not anymore.
Oh,
The Koch brothers have not been supporting the Democrats recently.
they're
They're all for the old.
corporations, they support both parties. They put money into both parties, by a large amount. But what I wanted to point out was because nobody else is discussing the differences between what the Democrats are doing, and they delegitimize protesting. Not only that, but people like Maxine Waters and Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi, they're inciting violence. And when these people are funding, promoting, and encouraging the protests, I mean, somebody's got to be paying for it. You know what I mean? And it's important to know who's paying for the event to happen, because as more violence happens, the Democratic Party and their investors that invest in this protesting are responsible for the injuries that happen. You know, don't you agree? What do you think, Alex?
Yeah.
One more time. Sorry.
The Democratic Party and their
I
investors,
agree. I think
people like
it's more the
Soros
Russian.
and like there's what's it called? Ultraviolet is they're paid protesters. They're paid to not only protest but to guide people, to bring flyers and posters like pre-made, and I think it's just, honestly, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you have money to do that, then by all means do that. But more than likely, this is going to cause violence. It's going to, these people that are so emotional, they're emotional and they're mentally drained, and they're being manipulated every single day.
too bad they're not. Too bad their emotions aren't as strong about homelessness and poverty and, you know, jobs.
I want to call them out, because if they cared about the matter, then they would, you know, get a marker, get a poster, and they'd go out and protest on their own and host it and promote it and see how hard it is to do something without the help of the Democratic Party. Because the people who have integrity and the people who are educated about DNC crimes would not support any DNC event. So we're excluded from that, you know, because we don't legitimize the Democratic Party. So it's like, okay, they'll give you money, they'll host your event, they'll guide you through the whole damn thing because you don't have a thought of your own. That's all well and good, but the people that are paying for it are going to eventually want violence. They're going to want it, and that's why, you know, these leaders are saying that there's no, you know, Hillary Clinton said there's no room for civility anymore against the Republican Party. I mean,
There's actually a few facts I wanted to spit out. If that be allowed?
go ahead.
Okay, so you know how like people assume the Democrats are this big party of civil rights and they've done all these wonderful things. Well, let's go down to the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Okay.
Okay.
Let me go up to this.
And then when you're done, I have
So
an
the
email for you to read too. That would be funny.
The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, right?
We have 10 minutes, guys.
Okay, so 23% of the Democrats actually supported it. The 14th Amendment, which gave the freedom, gave citizenship to slavery, which ended I think it was the 2/3 agreement with slaves. That was supported by no Democrats. And then the 15th Amendment, which was the right to vote for all, which was the women's suffrage, that was also no Democrats supporting. The Democrats also are the party of the Klan. They're the party of anti-civil rights. They actually didn't want to have the Civil Rights Act that allowed blacks and other minorities the ability to have fair rights during the 1960s and beyond. They actually had to force this through and get I think it was LBJ, to get LBJ to sign this stuff, because if not, they wouldn't have had it.
Yeah. Will you send me that picture on Discord?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the DNC fraud page. And one aspect that I wanted to really focus on in the future is, especially on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page, I've been, when I see something that's, exposing the Democratic Party or discussing it, like just, everyday people like you and me and the people on our Facebook timeline, I'll ask them if I can share the quote or share it, and I'll share it to the page or share it to the Twitter page. And I want to show people that we're a movement made of many different voices, not just the admins on the page. So, if you're talking about DNC fraud or telling people about it, tell them that, we're accepting submissions. I'm doing things on Twitter, like I had a sign that said, it was about Julian Assange, and it was about the DNC fraud lawsuit, and it said 2 witnesses within the DNC lawsuit have been killed since 2016, or in 2016, and I had above it I had send in your submissions that are similar to this. Write whatever you want to regarding the DNC fraud lawsuit. Write it on a poster and hold it up and take a photo of yourself and send it in, and then we're going to put those pictures on our DNC fraud website. So people can see that we're a movement made up of many, many people. We are all, in this together. There is no head leader here to tell you what to say. You know what I mean?
Be your own person.
Yeah.
Real
exactly.
people, Americans, not Russians.
Exactly. And ultimately our goal is to get DNC Fraud Protest representatives in every state, volunteering, not getting paid because it's worth it, and hopefully we'll find them, 'cause it's very hard to find people who are able to protest, whether, they have family obligations that they can't get away, or whether they have job obligations that they can't, disrupt, because the Democratic Party is very vindictive. They will go after you. So we have to find enough people to get together to make more people, feel comfortable, and that takes time.
Our system is designed that way. I say that the only true way you can do it is through money. It's through, just nobody, everybody stop working, stop going to the bank. Everybody have to pull all their money out of the bank. You'd have to cripple them financially.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like the only way we're gonna cripple the DNC financially is if we go to local DNC headquarters and hold people accountable for who they support. If you can't travel, call. If you can't call, email. If you can't email, write a letter and say, hey, this is the crimes of your party. You can be as specific as you want. I have a list, I have a page called 136 reasons why the DNC needs to be shut down. Those binders I had. And I'll go to I'll go to DNC events and headquarters and promotions and stuff and hand this to the candidate and say, here, and we have to do that in every major city repeatedly, and that's only one strategy. Basically, how we're going to save ourselves right now is showing people how to really peacefully protest on our own dime, on our own time, for a genuine issue.
Yeah.
It's all gonna. And a lot of these things, when it comes to the banks, is don't forget, all these banks get their money from the Federal Reserve. They actually don't get it from the Treasury Department.
The big banks is what you're talking about, not the credit unions.
Credit unions too.
No.
They all get it from the Federal Reserve.
I thought the credit unions all got it from the members,
The credit union, where do the members get it from? The credit union, the Federal Reserve prints all money. All money. Any cash, any coin, any bond, anything. The Federal Reserve controls it. And the United States government actually pays fees in order to issue that money.
I know about that, yeah. But a lot of people say that's just a conspiracy theory, Alex, right?
Well, yeah, apparently. But then you wonder, why is it not the United States Treasury that's issuing the money or printing the coins or issuing the, why does it say Federal Reserve note, not United States dollar?
Very good point.
And that's because of the Federal Reserve Act on, I think it was the 23rd of December in 1913, when Woodrow Wilson did it, when everyone else was on Christmas break. And then the Titanic happened shortly beforehand, which actually had a lot of anti-Fed people on there.
Okay, 3 minutes, guys. So closing arguments involving, or statements involving protesting.
Well, let's see.
Alex. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say Alex is going to be here. Let's see, it's the 9th. He'll be here in like 10 days. He's going to
I will be
host a protest with me. Yeah.
I will be in Pullman, Washington next Thursday. I'm going to be flying all the way from New Jersey on my own
that's
dime.
Another thing from genuine protesting. People spending their own hard-earned money and their own time to fly across the country, or I've had protests where people took trains across the entire country just to come to an event, and spend all their free money that they had to do this,
And risk going to jail.
You what?
You risk going to jail every time, too.
Well, yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But the thing is, though, the one thing I always recommend to tell people if they want to start protesting is record it. Every moment of it. Record your setting up. Record packing. Record traveling there. Record before the event, during the event, and after the event. Have a briefing afterwards. Go ahead.
You guys, you know what they do in Iceland, don't you? To the corrupt officials, they sit outside of their buildings and they bang on pots and pans until they do something. And they get stuff solved that way. And I know that sounds crazy, but you make that.
Actually, I really like that idea. That's a good idea, because I was thinking of some other way for us to get attention, without causing any danger to anyone, because that's that is one of my top priorities.
I don't know if this would be the most safe thing in the world, but I could definitely wear my MAGA hat if I really wanted to piss people off. I actually have one. I am damn proud of it, because it's a big FU to the DNC.
Yeah, but I encourage people at our protests, to have self-expression, even if it's not similar to my expression, at one of our last events, we had people, they were creating their own posters and their signs, and they wrote, Movement for People's Party, and I didn't object to it, and I'm not ever going to object to whatever people want to write on signs. So I see no problem with you wearing a hat at a DNC fraud protest, because any opposition to the Democratic Party is good. And I want to show that we have a rounded perspective on things. Like, we're not